Hi, my name's Phil. I'd like to talk about politics and the curious case of the clueless Brexiteer here. This video I'd like to discuss the continuing naivety of a former Brexit Party MEP regarding Brexit and fishing. Now, normally it wouldn't really be that discussion worthy. Oh, another Brexiteer doesn't seem to understand Brexit. But this one has a business in the fishing sector, or at least they did have until Brexit knackered it. So really you would think they should know better, but still doesn't get it. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So June Mummery, who's an ardent Brexiteer and former Brexit Party MEP, not quite the same type of Brexiteer as her former boss, Nigel Farage. Farage is a charlatan, pure and simple. I mean, I know his rampant xenophobia seems genuine enough, and one of the reasons why he hates the EU, but I believe he also understands perfectly well the realities of Brexit. This is why, for example, he flipped his lid in 2019 when Juncker suggested that we shouldn't get another extension in October of that year. And I know Farage frequently says that, oh yeah, we actually should leave without a deal, that's the best thing to do. But the one time when it actually looked like we might, he crapped his pants. But Mummery, I think, does believe in the Brexit fantasy. Not just Brexit, not just leaving the EU for xenophobic reasons, but actually the Brexit fantasy. There can be no greater evidence for this than her reaction to Brexit itself. So she owns a seafood company, which cannot currently do any business. That's what she's saying anyway. She's saying, got no fish, can't do anything, knackered. Embarrassing. Now, how did she not realise how damaging leaving the customs union and single market would be if she's not just a worker in the industry, but a business owner who relies upon trade with the EU? The only possible explanation is that she actually has no idea what being part of the single market did to make business easier for her. In other words, she doesn't actually know how international trade works because the EU made it easy. Because if you're ignorant about customs arrangements in cross-border trade and you're one of these loons who thought the World Trade Organisation's got you covered, then I can sort of understand how you'd think Brexit might be worth doing. Because if your objection to the EU is political, and bear in mind there's lots of facets to the EU, primarily political and economic, but if your objection to the EU is purely political and you don't see the trade benefits of being part of the most sophisticated trading bloc in the world because you think, for example, that all the benefits we got were actually covered by World Trade Organization rules that you also didn't understand, I can see that. But the thing is that Mummery still doesn't see it. She knows that her business isn't trading right now. She says that anyway. And she knows it's because of Brexit. But she's still banging on about quotas. She's not banging on about customs arrangements, which is the thing that's knackering her, but quotas. She was saying in an interview that 5 years is a long time when you have nothing. So what's this 5 years about? Well, the fishing sector part of the Brexit deal has phased in alterations to the quotas over the next 5 years, with more negotiations in 2026. Now, she's behaving as if the EU quotas in British waters have been phased out over the next 5 years, because what she said is, oh, in 2026, all the quotas revert to us, and that's where I wanted it to be now. And it's like, there are multiple levels of dumb to this. The first one is, the deal is not phasing out these quotas over 5 years. There's an adjustment that means about 25%, returning to Britain over the next 5 years. But that is also largely compensated by British fishermen losing access to other fishing waters. Not just EU fishing waters either. This deal has actually completely screwed British fishing fleets operating outside British waters. You know where the fish are caught that we actually eat in this country? Because there's the issue, you see. The fish we actually have a taste for isn't caught in British waters. So now we're actually after Brexit more, as a result of this fishing deal, more reliant on getting our fish from foreign fishermen as a result of Brexit. Blinding, isn't it? But this woman So she owns a business that depends upon trade with the EU, and has she not even read the part of the agreement that concerns her business? I get that you're not going to read the whole thing. I haven't read the whole thing. I read the fishing bit, because of course you would. She hasn't even done that. Is that what we're saying? And then some people may try and stick up for her, going, Phil, no, that's not what she's saying. What she's saying is that in 2026, the quotas are up for negotiation again. So she's referring to the idea that Boris Johnson, or whoever's in charge then, and bear in mind it's 2026, there'll be a general election before then, we don't even know which party it will be, but she's just assuming that that's the point at which we're just going to repatriate them all. Oh yes, so now we're on to the second level of dumb. If the government intended to reclaim all of those quotas in 2026, why are they only phasing in 25% of them in the intervening years? Is she seriously thinking that the plan is to reclaim 25% over 5 years and then the other 75% at once? We won't even have the capacity to make use of those quotas. This is what we tried saying before. If we'd have repatriated them all now as she wanted, we don't have the fishing vessels, we don't have the fishermen to be able to take advantage of that. You'd have to slowly phase it all out over time, not a big block at once. And it's a complete nonsense. Besides, let's consider the situation from her point of view. So, she presumably spent 2020 thinking that Boris Johnson was going to take back all those quotas this year. He didn't. He didn't even agree a deal that phases them all out over time. It phases out 25% at a cost to us in non-British waters. So she believed that they'd all be reclaimed by 2021 and they weren't. In fact, nothing much changed at all. But now she believes that they'll all of a sudden be reclaimed in 2026. Is this woman thick? Seriously? I know she joined a party of conmen and women, but was she conned just the same as the rest of some people? And I always balk at the idea of trying to suggest that a business owner is thick, because especially when it comes to the realities of business, but she obviously is. And doesn't this highlight just how great being in the EU was? Because what it meant was that morons like this can actually operate a successful business, for which you'd think you'd need some aptitude, but no. She was able to operate a successful business trading with other countries without having to know a blind thing about international trade and how it works. It's brilliant. It's also quite scary, because that means there are probably other British traders around the country who are just as thick and clueless as this imbecile, whose businesses are going to fail in droves, partly because of Brexit, because that's hitting even good business owners, but partly because they're just not intelligent enough to understand the environment they now find themselves in. So their capacity for adaptation is basically nil. But then there's another level of dumb. So let's say, for whatever reason, the government do reclaim all those quotas. And let's say the massive number of British fishing vessels, and even more impressively, the number of British fishermen, pops out of thin air to manage this sudden gap. How does she expect to sell all this extra fish? I mean, if her seafood business is currently knackered, it's because she depends on trade with the EU. The barriers to that trade right now are due to Brexit systems not really being ready, as well as the necessary delays, paperwork and all that business. But if the government tries to diverge significantly from what's been agreed last month, then we know there's a consequence. The EU get to take corrective action. So there'll be even more trade barriers for what's left of her business in that situation. They will, for example, impose tariffs. Oh, you want all your quotas, you don't want to go negotiate something that's acceptable to us? No problem, we'll just slap tariffs on everything. Make it really uncompetitive to sell in our market. How about that? How would you like that? So not only will she have expensive paperwork to deal with and delays in transport, preventing her fish from being as fresh when sold, which means it's not worth as much, she'll also have tariffs, making it even more expensive. This is a woman who thinks that the problem is that not enough fish caught in British waters are caught by British fishermen. I mean, like I've said before, we don't even have enough British fishermen to catch the British quota as we had it. That's why so much was sold to French fishermen. And then they moan that so many French fishermen in British waters. It's because you sold the quotas to them. And why did you sell the quotas to them? Because we don't have enough fishermen in this country. British fishing vessels are manned by about 50% foreign fishermen. And it's not like we have queues of out-of-work fishermen in the country. So what has screwed over fishing businesses like hers are the trade barriers that she still seems to be in favour of. In fact, the logical conclusion to what she's asking for is to impose even greater trade barriers. She wants even more of the things that's killing her business. She thought she could screw over the EU fishing industry and still expect them to take our fish without any problems. I can't get my head around that level of stupidity. The level of dumb required to think that. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.